Good evening and welcome to the campus of Walter State Community College in Morristown in Hambly County. Along with my colleague Robin Wilhoit, I'm John Becker, and we are here to get answers to your questions from the various agencies who have been responding to the disaster in East Tennessee after Hurricane Helene caused unspeakable damage.
And we have a panel of people who represent these agencies who we have asked to come here this evening to answer your questions about the aftermath and their response to Hurricane Helene. With that, we would like to introduce our panel this evening, beginning with Monica Miles, a public affairs specialist with the Small Business Administration, Nancy Dragani, a senior federal official with FEMA, Steve Borden, TDOT Regional Director and Assistant Chief Engineer, David Roush, the Director of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, and Special Agent J.D. Anderson with the FBI. Once again, thank each of you for being here with us this evening. We are going to begin with a question for all of you. You are here representing your specific agencies. How has your agency responded in the aftermath of Helene and certainly the devastation that we have witnessed in East Tennessee? And we'll begin with you, Mr. Dragani.
So when the president declares a disaster anywhere in the country, the federal emergency management comes in support of the state and our local partners. And so we are here laser focused in Tennessee on how we can best support the governor, the state of Tennessee, and those residents who were impacted. In the last 14 days or so, we've had just over 7,500 registrations from households and individuals that suffered during this event. And we've put out just under about $12 million that will go to help those individuals recover. And I'm focusing on individuals because right now that is our focus, although we also have programs that are available for government. Those will take a little bit longer to unfold.
Ms. Miles.
Yes, the U.S. Small Business Administration is a partner to FEMA in disasters. Although we're titled Small Business Administration, when it comes to disasters, the SBA can provide the states and the counties within the states that were declared a disaster low interest rate disaster loans to the homeowners, the people who are renting their homes, businesses large and small, and to nonprofit organizations. So the SBA has a team of people here who have been deployed to Tennessee to help the people to recover. Sometimes a grant from FEMA, funds from the state that might be available, and insurance proceeds is not enough for an individual or family or business or nonprofit organization to recover. And so sometimes they have to apply for a loan. And so the SBA does have the low interest rate disaster loans. So we have public customer service representatives in the state where if anybody wants to apply for a loan in person, they can do so. As a public affairs specialist, we're here to try to get the word out to the people so that they know that this relief is available to them. Mr. Borden.
Yes, so as a Department of Transportation, as part of responding to an emergency of this kind, that response, we're emergency support function 1, meaning that for you to get goods, supplies, emergency people there, you got to have connection. So the first thing is response, right? Stopping people from going through dangerous areas, flooded roads, working with our law enforcement as we do that. And then you get into the rhythm of recovery and then reconnection, putting these things back online because it's important to the welfare of these communities. We're all in the people business, right? It's connecting people. That's what transportation does. And then the restoration part of that. You know, at the height of this storm, we had 49 state routes that were closed, impacted. Many of these counties were islands to themselves that you couldn't get in or out of. To date, we're down to 15 routes that are closed. But these are major thoroughfares, even two interstates that are impacted by this. So, you know, that's what it is. It's reconnecting, restoring, and being able to help those folks get what they need and recover from this incredible disaster that we faced.
Director Roush.
Sure. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation has been working closely with TEMA in our coordinated response. Primarily, the Bureau's response was and continues to be setting up a line for the public to call to report those unaccounted for from the storm. And so we had about a little over 500 individuals that were reported unaccounted for. We've been assisting local first responders in identifying where those individuals might be, and fortunately at this point we have identified the vast majority of those, and most of them are safe with very few fatalities from the storm. And then additionally we brought our resources in to assist in a couple other areas, aerial support and providing some storm coverage in terms of where the issues are. We've provided some video feeds to TDOT so they know where the roadways have been impacted, as well as to a number of our other partners who are trying to identify what's happened on the ground. And then in addition to that, we brought over our rapid DNA machine to be able to identify those who have unfortunately perished in these storms. And so a number of areas, and then we also, our team is helping with delivering supplies. Our eradication teams have been helping deliver supplies to those areas that have been cut off. So using our ATVs and our side-by-sides to get into those areas.
Special Agent Anderson.
I'm in the FBI's Johnson City office covering the 13 counties in Upper East Tennessee, the counties impacted by the disaster. Our main role will be work with the TBI and other local agencies to protect these communities already hit so hard by the disaster, to protect them from frauds and scams that will emerge in these areas with individuals who are vulnerable both financially and emotionally. We've also assisted in the immediate aftermath. We've assisted the TBI and the medical examiner's office at East Tennessee State University using some of our technology that we usually use to identify individuals charged with crimes. We've used some of our technology to identify some of the victims that were recovered.
Thank you all. And Mr. Ghani, let's start with you. We heard the special agent talk about the scope of this problem, 13 disaster counties. We're trying to get a handle on the urgent need. We know that more than 500,000 people live in all 13 counties. And you mentioned a little more than 7,000 have applied individually through FEMA. Give us a sense of just how many people in this region need some of the basics: food, water, electricity, shelter.
Sure. So I think if we think about the 13 counties, and I mentioned this a minute ago, the counties that we're focused on where we see the most impacts on people are Carter, Cock, Greene, Hamblin, Hawkins, Washington, Unicoi, Johnson. Think I got them all. Those 8 counties that have what we call individual assistance. We think that about 40% of those that we're aware of that needed assistance have in fact registered. But what I want to really emphasize is everyone needs to register if they're in one of those counties by calling our 1-800 number, 316-2234, and I need to verify that number for you. But they need to call that number. They need to go to disasterassistance.gov and apply online. They need to go to one of the multi-agency resource centers that Tennessee has set up, because until they apply, they're not eligible for FEMA assistance. And so oftentimes we hear, I haven't seen FEMA or I haven't gotten anything from FEMA. The first question is, have you applied? Because until you apply, you're not eligible.
And you say upwards of maybe 60% need to do that very thing, just pick up the phone and call.
They need to pick up the phone and call. They can download the FEMA app. They can go to one of those multi-agency resource centers or a disaster recovery center. We just stood one up in Unicoi County in Irwin, or they can call that 1-800 number.
As we mentioned, we solicited questions from our viewers, and if you would like to provide us with a question, we ask that you text us at 865-637-1010, and we will certainly try to get your question to our panel members. But this one is from Jerry Paul, and he wrote in, is FEMA confiscating donations and demanding total distribution control of collected items?
No, FEMA does not get involved in donations management. That's a state and local and nonprofit organization. And in fact, right up the road in the Bristol Motor Speedway, they have an amazing donation center that the state and local and the Speedway have put together.
This is another question we've heard. And again, one of the reasons we're putting this on is to dispel some of the myths and the misinformation that we've heard throughout the last couple of weeks. Again, this is directed to you, Ms. Dragani. Is it true that FEMA is IDing a $750 payment to flood folks as a loan? Do they have to pay it back?
No, they do not. So there are a couple assistance programs that people may see fairly quickly in this operation. One of them is what we call serious needs assistance. And based on the new fiscal year, it's actually $770. It's gone up just a little bit. But that's a program that's a grant. People do not have to pay it back. They have to have some kind of serious needs associated with impact to their home or their living situation. But it is not a grant. We do not ask for people to pay it. It is not a loan. We do not ask for any of that money back.
John, I'm sorry, if I may, just to highlight a point that you made about this misinformation, right? There's been a lot of that going on during this, especially on response and in terms of providing assistance. With FEMA, a lot of misinformation out there, and I think it's critical that all of that gets cleared up. And the fact is, FEMA and FEMA are coordinators. They come in and they coordinate the efforts of all of the other responders, right? They don't control the response. They coordinate the efforts so that we know what is going on, we know where things are, and so I think it's important for people to understand that. And then they do provide resources, right? Both FEMA and TEMA provide resources, but their resource provisions are run through proper channels. And so it's important, as mentioned, the various ways of getting that help, right? And we recognize some people may not have the ability now to get online. So that's why there are centers set up in various counties to be able to go and do it face-to-face with someone. So I think it's important that that information is shared.
Yeah.
Mr. Borden, this question for you, and we were talking before we came on air about just the significance of this disaster. TDOT has dealt with many in the past, but give us a sense, if you will, of how this compares to other weather-related tragedies that we've seen in the past in Tennessee.
Certainly. I've been with the department for 35 years. I've been in a role to respond to disasters for over 25 of those. And in my time, I mean, I've responded to a lot. You know, the Gatlinburg wildfires was a large disaster locally. We were the single largest agency to respond, 58 people up there. I've dealt with disasters such as 2019 where we lost 77 sections of road. I've dealt with tornadoes, other flooding. The scalability of this is way beyond anything that I've ever experienced. This is you know, when you talk about the size and the scope, we're talking about places where the river has changed course. We're talking about, many people have seen the videos of State Route 107, the bridge collapsing, right? And you see the water overtopping a bridge that is 80 foot above the channel. There's a 70 to 80 foot wall of water that washed through that valley on that Nolichucky River. You're talking about 1.2 million gallons of water per second going over the Nolichucky Dam. To put it in perspective, Niagara Falls is only 700,000 gallons per second. We're talking that type of scale, and certainly it has impacted the lives of so many towns, people, with such great loss, infrastructure, whether it be utilities. It's a large scale.
Ms. Miles, you mentioned the Small Business Administration is here helping out. Can you give us the sense of the scope of your work and how many businesses are looking for help right now?
So far, a few hundred applicants have applied to the SBA for a disaster loan. And so we're in the beginning stages here in Tennessee. So those are homeowners, people renting their homes, the businesses, and the nonprofit organizations. Most of the applicants are typically homeowners and renters who actually apply to the SBA.
I wanted to just pass along the FEMA number. It's 1-800-621-3362. Again, if you need help, call that number. And just following up on that question, how do survivors get in touch with FEMA if they have no electricity or phone service? We saw this in the early days. That's getting better, but if you wouldn't mind answering that question as well.
Certainly, there are a couple ways. Obviously, if they have cell service, they can download, but you said no phone or no cell service, no electricity. I would encourage them, if they can make their way to one of those multi-agency resource centers or the disaster recovery centers, to take advantage of that. There are people there that can help them through the application process. In addition, in some counties, we are sending people on a door-to-door basis with local responders to actually touch base with people where they are. And we're setting up mini DRCs, if you will, in places like libraries, common meeting areas, volunteer fire departments. We're in every one of those 8 counties that I mentioned, though.
Special Agent Anderson, you mentioned scams. People are at their most vulnerable, one of the most vulnerable times in their lives. What scams are you hearing? What are you seeing? And what can people do to avoid them?
Absolutely. You know, disasters bring out the best in individuals. It also brings out the scammers. And there's a few different types of scams that will no doubt appear in the aftermath. One would be a charity scam where someone steals donations that should go to victims who really need it. Other scams are contractor scams, someone who will take your money promising to do home repairs and then they don't do those repairs. And then the one that I would assess that region is most vulnerable to is just a play on scams that are already out there. And there's professional scammers all over the world, and they know to prey on individuals who are emotionally and financially vulnerable. And so that scam could look a lot of different ways, but it would be someone posing as a representative of FEMA or a relief agency and asking someone for information and tricking them into giving their bank account password or bank account PIN, or asking for money before they'll provide money. And so it could look a lot of different ways, and one of the main ways to prevent it is just what we're doing tonight, in awareness and getting the word out that relief agencies are not going to ask you for money before they're going to provide you with relief. They're not going to ask for personal information. Mm-hmm. Generally, they're not going to reach out to you unsolicited. And so all of those would be red flags and to be aware of and to watch out for if you're in contact with a relief agency. And then in terms of if you're not sure if there's suspicious contact that someone's made with you, you can call us, 1-800-CALL-FBI. You can also submit an online tip to us at tips.fbi.gov. Submit it, we'll follow up. Those all come to me in Johnson City. I'll review them and we'll follow up with a phone call to make sure that you're informed, that you're aware, and that you know that you're not talking to a scammer.
We are getting to some of the questions that you have submitted to us for our panel of experts here. Just a bit of breaking news. We're learning that the Transportation Secretary is coming in to meet with TDOT in East Tennessee to look at the infrastructure damage on Thursday. So that's happening. Again, the national focus is zeroing in on East Tennessee on Thursday. And Steve, this question for you from one of our viewers: can you stop the tractor trailers from utilizing county roads in 2570 while we try to recover?
Certainly, that's one of the things that we do work on, as far as we have detailed routes for trucks right now. A lot of these roads cannot handle trucks. You know, you're not going to take a truck down 129 on the Dragon. You're not going to go through 165. And so we work very diligently to put that information out there, working with the trucking companies. At the same time, our law enforcement partners are there alongside of us as well. So for instance, on I-26, we were able to open a section of that down to Irwin to get the connectivity for emergency services and redundancy for the really hard-stricken place there in Union-Coy County and Irwin. And THP's there with us. They monitor that, and if a truck tries to come through, you don't go through Irwin. You got to take the official detours. At the same time, they're able to monitor if you're bringing supplies or essential goods to Irwin, they can get in. And so a lot of that is we work in partnership with our local law enforcement as well as our THP. I've been working very closely with North Carolina Highway Patrol as well, and their Department of Transportation as we join a lot of these routes to make sure we're in constant communication of where traffic can go, what type of traffic can go through certain areas, so that we best get the proper traffic on a suitable route. You know, our truck route right now is 8177. It's very important and critical for folks to understand that. One of the best things you can do to help the areas that are in need right now is to let the people that are trying to minister them, to bring aid to them, to be in those areas and not get in that way.
Just a quick follow-up to that.
Yeah.
We know roughly 30,000 drivers use I-40 from Tennessee to North Carolina every single day, based on your reporting. We know it's on the North Carolina side that we've seen that major damage. At last check, they were saying months before that would be fixed. Is that still, you think, a good estimate?
Certainly. So we coordinate with North Carolina. Matter of fact, I met with them this Thursday. Every 2 weeks, every Thursday, we go and meet together to look at our two sections. We both have extensive damage, just like we do on our side. Have some significant failures. But the one thing that we are going to do is try to create connectivity. There's twofold reasons. And so early next week, we will be able to, for local traffic only, be able to reconnect the Interstate I-40 on the westbound side, one lane in each direction, to the Waterville exit. That's very critical for those folks that do not have connectivity there. Some of them, the only way out of those places is a gravel road, right? We're going to get that in place. That gives them access. Number two, it also gives access to North Carolina for materials and construction needs that they're needing from our side. So that will be coming online next week as we continue to reconnect. It's really important to understand what connectivity means. You know, over the years, we've lost I-40 between us and North Carolina several times, but we've always had I-26. And right now, that is another place where we do not have a full access. Again, we're working there. Hopefully within the next 30 to 45 days, I'll be able to reconnect one lane in each direction on I-26 to try to restore connectivity.
As we said, one of the primary reasons why we have asked you to come to answer questions is to dispel misinformation that is out there. And there are a lot of rumors. And Donna Dudley sent in this question that is a rumor that we've heard over and over. She asks, there was a Facebook post stating that human bodies that have perished in the devastating storms of East Tennessee and Western North Carolina are being bulldozed into the debris. Your response to that, Director?
Yeah, I don't mind answering that
Okay.
one. I can tell you that responders, everyone out there working, from our friends with TDOT to all the engineers that are on site that are clearing debris, they are meticulously working through that debris to assure that we are discovering those who may not be accounted for, so that we can return remains in those circumstances. And so that's absolutely not true. There's great care that is being taken by all responders that are helping out in this area. We could clear it a whole lot faster, but because we still have unaccounted for reports from not only Tennessee, we've had bodies come over from North Carolina that we have recovered in Tennessee, and so as long as they have unaccounted for, we're going to go meticulously as a response in this effort.
And certainly, and I will say that being alongside them, the local law enforcement, our folks on the ground, I mean, we've had over 400 people that descended on that area alone working, and a lot of those are aiding in recovery. Unicoi County is a place where we're supplying equipment to work alongside law enforcement, to work alongside those cadaver dogs that are trying to search for those bodies, meticulously going through that. I mean, the effort of what the law enforcement has done here is amazing, to watch them trying everything that they can to recover.
Another rumor, if you will, that has been circulating, this Joanne Collins is putting this to you. Is it true that community members who were trying to assist by bringing supplies were turned away because their supplies were not from an approved vendor? Anyone can speak to that?
I don't mind. I've been in meetings with our partners with FEMA, and that's absolutely untrue. What's happened is these areas have been saturated with donations, and now that we have stood up the center at Bristol Motor Speedway, it gives a location for donations to be able to be collected that have the space to be able to collect I mean, it's an amazing response. And supplies being brought. The counties were not able to store any more. with the devastation already they had, and then all of the help that was coming, they had nowhere to go. They had nowhere to put it. And so that's the reason that Bristol Motor Speedway is being utilized as a collection point for donations. And so they haven't been stopped. They've been rerouted to that location for coordinated efforts.
You hinted at it, Director Roush, but you narrowed the missing list down to a few people. We have a question about how many people you have confirmed actually died or are still missing on the East Tennessee side of this disaster.
Right. So we know 16 fatalities right now is where we stand. We still have, I think the last number was 6 that we believe are still unaccounted for and potentially deceased at this point. And that's, again, those are what's been reported. So there may still be others out there that have yet to be reported. And so we continue to get reports of folks who are unaccounted for. So that number moves daily, but that's the last numbers that I have.
This question texted into us. Is it true that you have to get flood insurance if you receive money from FEMA? Must you have flood insurance?
If you receive an individual assistance grant from FEMA, which is the money that goes to individuals and households, there will be a 3-year group flood insurance program that FEMA will purchase on your behalf. And that will come out of the individual assistance program that you receive. So you don't have to purchase flood insurance. FEMA will purchase that flood insurance for you for 3 years, and there may be a maintenance requirement then after that.
We also had a quick question about utilities testing water and whether it's dangerous because of pollutants. Is that something any of you have handled, or should that be a question for the EPA?
I think that's probably a question for the EPA.
Okay, we'll do that. You can only get, 5 at once.
Another question from a viewer. What is the detailed process of how money goes from the government through FEMA to individual states for disaster relief?
So when the president declares a disaster, the president will declare different programs available. In this case, for those 8 counties got what we call individual assistance as well as public assistance. The additional counties got public assistance, which helps governments respond. It defrays the cost of organizations like TDOT or Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. So when FEMA comes in, we set up a joint field office, and we work.
I hate to interrupt you, Ms. Dragoni, but unfortunately for this part of the conversation, we have to cut you off because we will continue over on 10 Plus, but we have to get to the 6 o'clock newscast on Channel 10.
That's right. And with that, 10 News at 6 starts right after this.
And we do know, just from our reporting, that it's in the single digits really across every county. I think in East Tennessee were the numbers we were looking at. It's a small number of people who actually do what you're saying.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, we've all lived this for the last couple of weeks, and it's been absolutely heartbreaking to witness. You all have been in the trenches helping. Are your agencies prepared? Have you learned best practices from this to be ready for the next situation that may play out? What have you learned? What lessons learned from this?
So I think we talked about previous disasters, not on the same scale. We learned a lot from those. Certainly the response, the coordination with our other agencies. I mean, you walk in step with the other agencies. We depend on each other. I've got people in the EOC. We're constantly communicating to make sure that we get our resources and assets to the places that are needed, right? I think there's a human element there too. One of the things, and we work at, when we're in the midst of the storm, we're focused on getting things done. We all know that we have people out there that, as you said, are in these situations, and there's a human element of, hey, when I get done working, sometimes you need help for your employees. We found that that's very important to go ahead proactively have that there, because we have people actively recovering deceased people that are there. You're seeing destruction of your own community. You know, TDOT is a unique element in that our offices are located in every county. The people that work there do life with the people that they're serving. They go to church with them. They eat at the restaurant with them. When they see what's going on, it's up close and personal to not only the desire to get things reconnected, to get things fixed, but at the same time, the emotional aspect of it, of saying, hey, there's a lot that's went on here. And so I think you learn a lot from that, the resources that you need to have for your folks that are on the front lines with that. And I think the communication is key. We succeed because we communicate. These agencies here are in constant communications with our staffs. We're always working together. I've seen the good work that FEMA's doing. You know, when you sit in Johnson County with the mayor, who called me on a Sunday and said, hey, I'm in a bad way. I said, what do you need first? And we put the first contract out on State Route 34 that Monday. My crews are on 91 because he needs food. He needs supplies out of Boone, and then he needs supplies out of Damascus. But you go there and sit with him. He says, you wouldn't believe the volunteer spirit. He says, I'm overflowing with the love that people have shown me. I'm overflowing with the agencies. FEMA's been on ground. TEMA's there. All of the agencies, they're there to support us, you know, when we called. And, you know, the volunteer spirit is alive. I mean, when I said I had 400 people on the ground, those came from other parts of the state. I've got people doing recovery up there now. They're from Memphis. They have a special piece of equipment that could help pick through those piles. You know, everybody came, and not only from our state. Florida DOT sent people up here. They just had one storm. They, you know, Helene went through them. They sent people up here to help us. Milton came, they had to go back. But guess what? We just deployed 2 of our strike forces to Florida that are leaving tomorrow to go help Florida. It's a community of support with all of our agencies and our other states that we walk in this together to be effective.
Yeah, I think we've learned additional resources as well that have been offered. I know I went out visiting our teams at each of the EOCs, and one specific area, the FOP. I had no idea they had this thing called a DART team, a disaster area response team, and they had this repurposed NASCAR carrier for meals. And what they were doing is providing meals to all first responders. And they set up, and they were, and they said, we're going to be here as long as it's a day, or if it's 1,000 days, we'll be here. And they're there serving all the first responders meals, which if you think about it, are critical as you're working around the clock, right? There's no other way to get nutrition. And so in order to keep going, right, they're doing that. But then additionally, the FOP, which was surprising, they also then provide assistance to those responders by those whose homes were destroyed. They're going and helping rebuild those homes with more personnel that come in from all over the country. And so that was a resource I didn't even know existed that I learned in this response. And they have a trailer here in Tennessee. They have one in North Carolina as well that are doing this. And so we're learning of more resources. I think is another piece of this. What we've seen in this disaster is resources that we did not know existed, or we're learning more about. And so I think that's critical as well.
Special Agent Anderson, any lessons learned from the FBI's perspective?
Yes, we always are going to learn and pick some things up and get better for the next time. I think with this, it's been great to see that we always talk about when we investigate criminal cases with our partner agencies, we always talk about we're better together. And so it's important to learn and remember that even in a natural disaster in Upper East Tennessee, we're all better together. All of our agencies were better in the community. And so learning that even though FBI's traditional role might not be disaster response, we do have resources that we can provide. And just like in our criminal investigations, we can provide some of those resources and all work together because we're better together.
We have another question. Someone has texted us from Donna Gibson. Is it true, this is for you, Ms. Miles, is it true that in order to qualify for an SBA loan, the business must have income?
Well, the SBA in determining whether to approve the loan or not, they do look at whether or not the applicant appears to be able to repay the loan because it's not a grant, it is a loan. And so they are going to have some way of repaying it. But the SBA has changed some of its practices. So the person, if they are denied a loan, they can try to get a second job, try to get a co-signer. If sometimes people have poor credit rating, they can try to improve that. We try to get people, particularly businesses, connected to free assistance. SBA has a small business development center, at least one in every state, and they can go to them, businesses can go to them for help, to help them get the loan and upgrade their situation so that it does get approved. But they would have to show to the SBA that they are going to be able to pay the loan. Now also our loans are now, for the first year, there's no interest accrued on the loan, and then the first payment on the loan is not due for a year as well. So that helps out a lot of applicants as well. But ultimately, they are going to have to show to the SBA's satisfaction that they're going to be able to repay it.
I'm going to just pass along to our 10+ viewers who may have just tuned us in that FEMA number, because I think it's important for them to know. 1-800-621-3362. Again, Ms. Dragani said the reason that more people aren't getting the help they need is because they need to register and call FEMA. If not, go to the FEMA website. But that's 1-800-621-3362.
You know, I think we would all love to have that crystal ball. It'd be so nice, but we don't. But given your experiences with your respective agencies, if you can guesstimate, after a situation to this magnitude, how long does it take for communities to come back? And maybe that's the $100,000 question, and it's probably very different, but in general, can you expect 5 years, 10 years? Just a little background, after Katrina, we followed Bay St. Louis, which was just destroyed, and clearly, right after it happened, devastation. We went back the next year, you did see progress. By 5 years, it was significant. Is there a quote-unquote timeline, if you will?
I'm not sure that there's a timeline, but I tell you where it comes in is resources that are provided, right? And so I know in meetings with our governor and with the cabinet that he has, and his conversation with us is for all of us to think differently, think creatively, think about ways that we can assist. Many of these communities that were impacted were already distressed communities. And so think of ways that uniquely we can provide assistance. And I think that type of effort is where communities come back fast, is with resources being provided in a manner that may not be traditional, and but can be done, and can be done effectively and quickly. And so I think that's one way of getting there quicker. I don't know that there's a clock on any of it, but I think a lot of it has to do with what resources can be accessed and how quick they can be accessed.
I know we've got to go in about 6 minutes, but let's just go down the line if we could, and just some closing thoughts on anything that you as panelists think we need to pass along that we haven't talked about tonight, or something looking ahead in the future. And Mr. Borden, let's start with you and TDOT.
Okay, so yes, I do think some of the things are, and I always encourage people to go to our website. We have a smart way. It's a great thing. Y'all talk about it a lot. There's a banner there. There's a lot of good information on what's open, what's not open, and we are sending out information daily on updates, right? Key moments over we have had a rhythm of a lot of stuff coming online really quickly. That's going to slow as we get to the bigger projects. I will say this though, you touched on it with Governor Lee and for me, Commissioner Ely as well. They took the handcuffs off of us and said, look, you go help people. They put things in place with the TMA where we have been able to do creative contracting for bridges where we can do things really fast, open things up much faster. I think that vision and forethought with the TMA has allowed us to run at a faster pace. Certainly, we're going to be in communities. We're still going to be able, I tell my staff all the time the same thing. I might not always give you the answer to the question you're asking, but how can I get to a yes to meet your need? I got to look inside to figure out to be creative, and that's the thing that we're about. We're about helping communities. We're connected because we help. As we go forward, there's going to be a lot of information. We're going to work really hard, really fast, stay connected to that. You all do a great job, obviously, with your agency in the news. You're a great voice for us to be able to get that information to people that need that.
Director Roush?
Yeah, I think critically, our team will continue to work with our local policing agencies and assuring the safety of all these communities, right? And I tell you, that's where the power is in Tennessee, as was mentioned, we have a unique situation with our policing in Tennessee. It is the tightest policing community I would tell you throughout the country. Our local, state, and federal partners all working together all the time. There is no hierarchy. It's as flat as can be. We all are able to maneuver quickly to the needs that we have and to address those needs in communities. And so I think our effort will be to continue to support all of our partners in any manner that we can. As I said, the creativity juices are flowing in terms of how we can help. I know our team collected money internally and have provided supplies for pets. I mean, just think about that impact, right? We've been delivering supplies to feed pets in the region that may not have, the individuals may not have the resources to be able to do that. And so that's an area that our team was like, hey, here's a place where we can help. And where they get that from is from those local policing, right? They know what's going on in their community. They're connected with the community, and so they'll tell us what the needs are. That, our supply deliveries, those came from conversations with local policing, saying, hey, I know there's an individual on this hill that is cut off, and so we figured a way to get up to them and get supplies to them so that they can survive and thrive in the challenge that they're in. So we'll continue to work through that.
Special Agent?
Prevention and awareness of frauds and scams, just to emphasize that will be a really big piece of the recovery, and just encourage everyone in the prevention and the awareness to make that a big piece of the recovery moving forward. Haven't seen it in the immediate aftermath, but now is when the scammers will start showing up. So just to keep that in everyone's mind as we move forward.
Ms. Miles, what should we keep in mind?
Well, the SBA, of course, again, can provide low interest rate disaster loans to people who own their home, people who are renting their home in the affected counties, businesses large and small, and nonprofit organizations that need a loan in order to be able to recover from the disaster. They can apply online if they want at sba.gov/disaster, or they can come into one of the centers that FEMA has set up. SBA is always at those centers along with FEMA, and sometimes sometimes SBA establishes its own separate business recovery center. It's the same thing. We just don't have FEMA there with us at that point. But they can come in there, and the customer service representatives can start the application with them, start and finish the application with them. And if they have any questions, they can also talk to them there as well.
Ms. Dragani, let's give you the last word.
So 3 quick things. If you hear something that doesn't make sense, find a credible source of information. The news media, TEMA, FEMA, local officials. We're in contact almost daily with the county mayors in the impact area. Second thing, please apply. Call that 1-800-621-3362, disasterassistance.gov, go to one of the physical sites. And finally, we're here. We were here before this particular event in response to the 9 disasters that Tennessee had declared previously, and we will be here during this event in support of Tennessee and our local partners.
And with that, we want to say thank you for being here, for sharing this important information with our viewers. And I know if questions weren't answered here, they can reach out to your respective agencies. So thank you once again. And with that, we want to say thank you for joining us. Have a great night.
Walter State, thank you for hosting. We appreciate the time, and thank you for watching on 10+. We'll see you soon.